We're two-thirds through the 2015 Atlantic hurricane season. Jeff Huffman here from the Storm Center. I want to give you a quick state of the season, if you will, where we could still see some more activity later in the year and where something may be catching our attention next week in the Gulf of Mexico. First, looking back, we had three named storms early in the year close to the United States: Ana, Bill, and Claudette. Since then, we've had 6 more named storms. Seems like a lot, but it's pretty typical to have that many at this state in the season. But they've been short-lived, not very strong, most of them, and they have not been able to move through these hostile conditions in the Western Caribbean and the Western Atlantic. That's because of our El Nino. So when you're measuring just the storm strength, the intensity, and the duration, the season so far has only come up to be about a quarter of its strength that it normally is at this time of the year. Now, looking forward, it's still possible, and I think a couple of more storms may try to organize there in the Central Atlantic, but they're unlikely to move this far to the west because of these hostile conditions. But I want you to note that north of these strong winds aloft caused by our El Nino, there is the possibility, I can't rule out a storm trying to organize in the Gulf of Mexico or in the Western Atlantic, similar to where they developed early in the year. So we're not out of the woods just yet. And we are going to be watching for possible slow development near the Yucatan Peninsula early next week. Just a quick update on Ida. Ida is lost at sea, literally. There's just nothing to steer it along or to pick it up. It still could strengthen a bit as we move through the weekend, but it is wandering aimlessly out here over the Central Atlantic. Has no chance of impacting any land whatsoever. But check out our future track. There's a big blob of moisture. Scientifically, it's more than that, but just for now, let's just call it a big blob of moisture. Could spawn an area of low pressure here near the Yucatan Peninsula. Now, upper level winds in this region are still not very favorable for development, but if it were to drift into the central or northern Gulf, it has a chance of becoming something tropical or subtropical by the middle of next week. As of Monday, still forecast to be just an area of low pressure in the Bay of Campeche there, west of the Yucatan Peninsula. All kinds of moisture will be wrapping into this system and probably pulling north and east toward the state of Florida. That's after Monday of next week. Between now and then, just typical rainfall here across the peninsula. Highest numbers will be up along the first coast where that area of low pressure is pulling away, and then later in the weekend to early next week, some of the moisture from that Gulf disturbance will start moving into South Florida. But overall, rainfall pretty typical for this time of year across the state.